So we have a European vision because most of our students and our companies, of course, don't see only Switzerland. They also see how can we have a European approach and an international vision. So EBS is known in France. It exists since 50 years. It has a very large network of alumni across Europe. It was founded by businessmen who wanted to train their own future staff. And then part of the same INSECU group, and we thought, okay, to launch EBS Genève, and there's London as well, to start having programs across countries. Our mission, we talked about, we have values of team spirit, innovation, respect, of course, and commitment. But the three pillars is entrepreneurship, sustainability, new technology. This is why we are addressing this. So why? Okay, I don't want to make a bad picture. It's gonna take 2 minutes, but I can say that when I present this or talk with our students, they have this in mind. Imagine your student or young, project officer today. The challenges that are coming ahead for the next 10 years is, I won't say huge, but quite important. Doesn't mean we are negative. I'm not negative at all. There are some opportunities directly. I think Jack Ma says, if you have a company that addresses a sociological issue, then you have a very profitable company. So, voilà. Some, of course, our natural capital is decreasing, and that's a slide from a Positive Luxury report of a few weeks ago. But they also see costs and issues, but also benefits. I think the impact of climate change will be real on people. And of course, when we say impact on people, we say impact on our customers. So the home's impact, the bushfire, I'm half Australian, so of course the wildlife bushfire in Australia is something that was a pain for my family. But also when we think about Brazil, Brazil and what's going on in Brazil. But if you look at from the International Coffee Organization and the World Economic Forum, we understand that from 2016 to 2019, within 3 years, they have their coffee income has dropped by half. So of course, we criticize, and it's a pain to see that they're cutting some of the Amazonia forest. But the other truth is the production and food supply is decreasing today as we speak. So, and the risk on price the price impact on price of good will increase. Of course, there are different challenges ahead in energy, in sociological, even in luxury. I've been working at the Fifth Avenue when I was in Richmond, and it was really a shock to see that they had to barricade and block the windows of the Fifth Avenue for US. It's really unusual. But if we look just at artificial intelligence and the impact on society, of course, but we would like to train our students to go on the first group of people who will take an advantage from it and not have a disadvantage about it. But it's also a source of opportunities. We have seen through COVID, this is a Boston Consulting Group report, that over the last month, telemedicine, drones delivery, 5G, okay, I know 5G is a bit in Switzerland, so I won't open, but still, it's just to say that new AR and VR, we've seen a lot of initiatives in retail from luxury companies. Distance learning, we can say that. It's a big innovation for us in distance learning. So it's source of innovation when we are facing challenges. There are also some great initiatives like International Labor Organization, like they kindly invited me, and I participated to a presentation from ILO and the Embassy of Thailand, and they looked at ships and slavery within the fishing industry, and they have enhanced their boats connected to satellites with a clever sort of echo sounder to fish better, so there's less waste, but also to have a better rendering production per boat. This made that they could have less people in the boat, and they were declared and paid and living better. So technology can really be all this, be a gain in terms of business and be a gain also for people. I don't know if some of you knows 4Ocean. It's association of divers in the US, and they of course seen more and more plastic on beaches. And I think that what was great is that they are producing bracelets based on the plastic trash that they collected on the beach. And they do quite a big of turnover. I don't know if they are still an organization or a private company now, because I think they do very well. Swarovski also have made a great business with their grown they call it the ethical diamonds, to say that it's machine produced grown diamonds and not from the earth. And you don't see a difference, and some clients are really appreciating this. World Economic Forum are mentioning that technologies will bring a lot of evolutions within the construction industry that have been quite classic over the last years. So there's a lot of opportunities in this field. We can mention in our region the Organisation de la Météo, who is very, already a few years, but very ecological. Banque Privée Piguet-Galland that we visited is amazing. About how efficient and the way they have completely rethought the client experience. There's no reception. When you enter, somebody will always come to you because there are some detectors and they are managing differently. It's really amazing. Drones is now an interesting business. Lately, the brand new Olympic Committee headquarters in Lausanne, we had the chance to have the officer, the director who was in charge of this, who came to present this to our students, which is self-producing in electricity and a lot of recycling in water and other energy. So that's a few examples about who we are. And we have 3 programs, one in Bachelor Business Development, 2 masters, one in Sustainability and Business and Sustainability Management and Digital Business. And we have 1 MBA in Entrepreneurship and Innovation. Voilà, that's a bit about the vision and why we are here today. Thank you for being so patient. Now I'll pass over to Paul-Henri, who is one of our key experts on this topic and also a founder of Startup Scout.
Thank you very much, Alex, for this introduction. I would like to thank you again, all of you, to be part of this webinar today, especially because, like you said, Alex, this topic for us is really, really important. I think we will have today great feedbacks from what is actually Tech for Good, because, as you said, it has been the trending topic for quite a few months right now, especially since the beginning of the SDG from the UN, and today startups are playing a big role in this. You could read eventually in Tribune de Genève a few days ago that Google and Facebook were going to that path as well, because they are not anymore startups, we could say, but kind of tech companies. So I'm really happy to have today on board Juliette Chabod from Ecosia. I don't think I need to present you the session time, but she's going to explain how they are, tackling this Tech for Good approach. We have also Yannick Morel from Latitudes.cc. So Yannick will explain to you how Latitudes is helping companies, universities to make their products, their services, and educate people on Tech for Good and what is Tech for Good at the end, with concrete actions, activities. And last but not least, Tom Lachkar, a co-founder of Caulys. Correct me if I'm wrong, Tom, when I pronounce Caulys. I never know how to say it. Yeah, perfect.
It's good.
So you are also bringing in some way new challenges according to how we produce food, how we consume food, in terms of proximity and as a product for a corporate as well. So let's start with ladies first. Juliette, if you are ready, you can take the lead with your presentation, and you have, just to make it clear for the agenda for today. So we have first 10 minutes per speaker. So we could reach 30 minutes less or more. And then you will have the opportunity to share with us your questions directly on the chat on Zoom. So it should be right here or right here, I don't know. And do not hesitate to ask questions directly to our audience, and we will manage them directly. So please be open to ask questions. So Juliette, if you hear me, you can now jump.
Cool. Thank you very much, Paul-Henri. So should I share my screen now? So thank you all for inviting me today. I'm very happy to be presenting Ecosia to some of you that might not know it, or if you didn't know, like all of our action in a wider way. So I'm Juliette. I'm a country manager for France for Ecosia. I joined quite recently, actually, like I arrived in September. It's a new switch of career because I used to be working in advertising agencies, and I just realized that it wasn't working with my personal values and like my ways of consuming on a daily basis. And so that's why I was sort of amongst those people that are looking for meaning in what it is that they do. So that's why I joined Ecosia in September. And so my role is to handle the business development of Ecosia on the French-speaking market, as well as leading the strategy on those market and partnerships. So to tell you a bit about Ecosia, the first thing you have to have in mind is that Ecosia was created to be more than a movement rather than just a digital tool. So Christian created it in 2009 after trips in India and Brazil, and there he really witnessed the devastating impact of our ways of living over our planet. He realized that we were really like messing with our trees and that we were just basically losing them and that we needed to do something about it. It was also a moment where climate change started to be heavily mediatized. And so from his background in technology, he was actually 25 when he created Ecosia. So even as a student, you can start thinking of ways to change the world. And so, yeah, he had a background in tech, and he was wondering, like, search engines do make a lot of money, and would that be possible to use that money to actually do some good and to finance trees across the world and start replanting on our planet? And this is sort of how we came with the idea of Ecosia, the search engine that plants trees. So basically Ecosia works just like a regular search engine, just like Google. So we make our revenue from the searches people make on the internet, so like whenever they will click on an ad. But the main difference is that all of our profit go to financing our tree projects in what we call biodiversity hotspots, which is basically where trees are needed the most. For instance, after the bushfires in Australia, because you brought it up, Alex, in the introduction, we started planting in Australia, and we've planted over 27,000 trees there right after the bushfires. So there's really that will with Ecosia to use the profit to do some good. So we're labeled B Corp, and we're, as I was mentioning, a not-for-profit organization. So today, Ecosia, we have planted over 114 million trees, and this across 25 countries and 38 reforestation projects. The way that we work is that we have a tree planting team within Ecosia that is doing partnerships with people from local communities, because they help us working with species that are native, biodiverse, and some that are endangered as well. Because the idea is to be planting trees, but to be planting the right species where it's needed the most, and not to plant the same tree everywhere. And working also with those local organization, help us in understanding what's at stake for local communities and how we can make sure that we are positively impacting the lives of those local communities. So I've taken one example for you to understand how we work, but also to understand how Ecosia's action is more than just planting the trees and how there's like a bigger picture to it. The example here I'm taking is Senegal. So there's a problem, like a massive problem of monocultures that were introduced by ancient colonies. And those monocultures are degrading the soil. And also they're facing the first effect of climate change because they have like a severe heat and drought phase at the moment. So like both monocultures and heat are degrading the soil, which make it very hard for local producers to have some harvest. So there we're working in agroecology, which means that we're planting trees alongside a variety of fruits and vegetables. And this helps in regenerating the soil and making the soil more resilient, which will then help the local farmers producing more diverse and healthier food, all of which resides in an increasing revenue. So like their communities in Senegal have seen a 400% increase in their revenue, which then makes that they can provide for their wives, families, children in accessing healthcare and education. And this is really something that's important about Ecosia, is understanding that we do way more than just planting a tree, and like the whole aspect of supporting local communities is very important to us. We do see a direct correlation in between what's happening in the world and the growth of our user base. So for instance, in 2019, when the severe fires happened in the Amazonian forest, it was like almost nonstop, but it was also a time where we were talking about like the growing movements all over the medias, like Fridays for Future, Greta Thunberg, and all of that meant that Ecosia was 100% growth rate. Our base of users actually tripled since, which means that people are looking for ways of acting on the world on a daily basis and looking for ways of individuals can help to tackle climate change. So we often talk about ecosians because we like to say that we're all united towards one goal, not only people like me working at Ecosia, but as well every single one of our users, because it's through their searches that we can actually make enough money to plant the trees, but also local communities, because we couldn't plant the trees if it wasn't like without them. So today we do count 15 million active users per month. And what's really important and interesting about our users is that, well, they're quite young. 80% of them are less than 30 years old. But what's most interesting about them is that they are really engaged. So almost like 1 in 2 also support one cause or NGO in addition to using Ecosia on a daily basis. And the reason why they use Ecosia is because it's a very accessible tool. I often take the example of like switching your diet to go plant-based or going zero waste. Like Ecosia, I'm not saying that you shouldn't do everything, but Ecosia is a very easy way to start doing something for the planet. And also, most of our users are aged between 18 and 24. So it means that some of them are still at home. So it's a way for them to have an impact on the planet without necessarily relying on other members of the households. And another thing that's important about Ecosia is that you have a direct impact on the planet and you know it. First, because you have like a tree counter, that so you can see all the searches that you make and like all the trees that you have planted, but also because we have a lot of editorial content that helps our user to see where are the trees, like who are we partnering with, like what's happening in our projects and everything. And this is some content that is very valuable for the users. We managed at Ecosia to actually take our vision further. I will actually go maybe a bit quicker because of time, but first, what we do is that we're helping our users to make more sustainable choices. One way we're doing so is because we have designed little icons. One is the green leaf, the other is the coal icon, as you can see on the right of the screen. The green leaf will highlight companies that are planet friendly because they are sustainable, responsible, and they rely on ecological labels like B Corp, for instance. And the other one, the coal icon, is highlighting companies that are doing bad for the planet, like because they rely on fossil fuels, for instance. And this is one way in which we define Ecosia as like one green companion, because we try to get our users to be as sustainable as possible. Another thing that we do, and this is very important for tech companies, is that we rely on solar energy. And at first we started by powering 100% of our searches through renewable energy, and then we just realized that we were able to produce just more. So today we're producing twice as much energy as we need for powering our all of our searches. And this is something that's very important because, as it was mentioned in the introduction, tech companies like have a carbon footprint, and this is very important to know. Another thing is that we believe that being privacy friendly is mandatory. This is just basically like tech companies, we have to respect this. This is a right for users. So like we don't sell data to advertisers. We don't store searches. All searches are anonymized. And most importantly, we don't use any external tracking tools such as Google Analytics, which help us in making sure that we're not using third-party trackers and that we're preventing other people from accessing data from our user searches. And lastly, we believe that full transparency is required to gain the user's trust. So this was also mentioned in the introduction, but this is something that is needed. So we do publish on a monthly basis our financial reports. It is our most read piece of content each month, which proves that there's a need from users to actually know about like where the money is going. And especially for Ecosia, as we are a not-for-profit, we have to prove that the money is going to trees, green investment, and that we use very little to like salaries and spreading the word, and that we do pay our taxes and social security. This is basically what holds us accountable and establishes truth. And it's just the basics of being a take for good company to our mind. So this was a very, very quick presentation of Ecosia. 10 minutes isn't enough to like say everything it is that we do, but I hope it was very clear. As mentioned, we'll have time for questions after all the presentations, but if you want to reach out anytime, you can send me an email or contact me through LinkedIn. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Juliette. Definitely, if you have questions, do not hesitate again. I would like just to mention something. I'm not sure you said it, the fact that you are actually a B Corp company. And actually, I think we need to get back to this after, because maybe in the audience we have some people interested about this. Okay, so now I would like to call the marvelous, fantastic Yannick Morel. Yannick, you can take the lead. Let's start when you want. And again, you have 10 minutes, but I don't want you to be stressed. So if you need 11 minutes, it's totally fine. You know, we are in Switzerland, so we take our time. Okay, let's go, Yannick. And if you have questions, again, write it down on the chat and we will manage them after. Thank you. Let's go.
Thank you. Well, thank you for inviting me. That's a great opportunity to talk about what we call tech for good. I think like you are going to see some examples like you will see in Ecosia, we'll see other examples. So I'm going to focus about what we are building as a community, as an NGO. And I hope that it's going to be useful for you. So if you have any question, don't hesitate to turn on your microphone or to just type it in the chat. So what we do is that we are aiming systemic change. We believe that we need a systemic change in order to well, today we have tech, which is part of the problem. We have seen the environmental issues. We have also seen like the issues about privacy and all those kind of things. We believe that instead of being part of the problem, it could be part of the solution. But to do that, we need to reinvent the way we develop technologies. And that's what we are aiming to do, to build a more responsible and sustainable tech. So that's the big picture, the thing we are aiming. What does it mean in everyday life? We develop projects for a lot of structures. It could be NGOs, it could be social startups, it could be institutions. And we had several programs. Some examples, we have done a dashboard to allow citizens to better understand the links between elected officials and interest representatives, like the lobbies. And that's a really important tool because it could allow the citizens like to make sure what are the links between the elected officials and the intern representatives. If you have, for example, interest representatives like Greenpeace or some other companies that are fossil fuels based, that's not the same. And it allows citizens to understand what are the links between those two. And we've made like some real cool dashboard to visualize it. And as a community, you can like upload your own dashboard. And we've done this with the, what we call in France, the HATVP, de la Haute Autorité pour la Transparence de la Vie Publique, which is an organization which is in charge. Yeah, that's some French acronyms. We really like it a lot in the government. So that's an organization which is independent from the state, and it could allow you to be clear about those kind of things. That's one example. Another one, we have done a hackathon with 90 students for Label Emmaüs. Emmaüs is like French NGO who is helping people to have a job after like a difficult path of life. It could be some homeless people, for example, of those kind of difficult life path. And the idea was that if you go on label emmaüs.co/fr or /something else, depending on the country you're based, that's like a regular marketplace, but in order to help people to have a job in that community. The hackathon was about tech for good projects in order to use machine learning, deep learning to help the platform, the marketplace, to sell those products. Another example, we have worked with another NGO which is called the Resto du Cœur for data science consultants. Have worked on their database to enhance volunteer engagement in this NGO. The Resto du Cœur is like they are helping again, like most of homeless people, to have a nice meal and those kind of stuff. And what I particularly like in those 3 examples is that there are actually tech examples, like regular tech skills that you can use in every project. Though the aim, the goal of it is like to have a social or environmental aspect impact. And that's what I mean when I say a more responsible and sustainable tech. So what we do is those kind of projects, a little retrospective. That's well, that's the 3 of us when we have co-founded the Latitude NGO in May 2017. After that, we have launched our first program, which is called Tech for Good Explorers. What we do is that we believe that education is a really powerful tool to engage people and to make a new way of thinking. That's why we are developing those kind of projects. You have seen, well, in 2018, it was in 8 schools and universities for about 500 students. And we have made our first impact assessment in order to understand what was our impact and how we could help students to think about the way they are building new technologies in order to help them understand what is and could be their social and environmental impact. Second program we have launched the year after, in 2019. That's our community, which is called Tech for Good Enthusiasts. The main idea is to gather people who want to build this more sustainable and responsible tech. And so we had launched it with 10 tech companies and 1,050 individuals, with another program we have launched, which is called the Tech for Good Tour. We are like traveling around, well, traveling or virtually traveling, depending on the year we are talking about, traveling around France in different cities in order to make events to like, for example, this one, in order to understand what is and could be tech for good and what we mean by that. And also to understand what kind of things you can do on a daily basis, or the first step you can take to engage in that movement. Well, today we are in December 2020, and we have 30 schools and universities for our Tech for Good Explorers program. We have 20 tech companies and 3,000 individuals with the Tech for Good Tour, which means that we have an active community, about 2,050 individuals and 7 full-time employees at the moment, which allows us like to scale our impact. And that's also our current question, how we could scale our impact. And the main idea is to reinvent tech standards to, the idea is like to have a world when it's like the standard to think about our social, our environmental impact when we are building the tech of tomorrow. And brace yourself for 2021. What we are building is a new way to engage more easily and to have many actions you can take. We have gathered together 101 actions to create an inclusive and sustainable tech in Europe. Like Alex said, we have a vision about Europe, and we believe that Europe can be a powerful tool to embrace this kind of a tech for good vision of tech, which is more sustainable and inclusive. If you want to take action, that's really simple. You have 101 positive actions to create an inclusive and sustainable tech. It could be, for example, a course about what is accessibility in tech, how you can take into account the bias you could have in algorithms, all kind of things that could take 5 minutes to, I don't know, 3 years. And so you can choose whatever you want, which is according to what we believe is making the tech of tomorrow. In order to like understand the different things, the different impacts tech has today, which could be in different fields, we have developed an hour-and-a-half training And our goal is to include it in schools and companies programs to help students and employees to take action, to take the first step. And third element we have is a fulfilling community life fueled by opportunities and actions from partners and community members. Which means, for example, we are building a hackathon with UNESCO, the NGO UNESCO, and the idea is to tackle challenges about education and how we can make education planning resilient in all the states, resilient to the crisis we are in and the crisis we will be in, unfortunately. So we better prepare right now, and that's one action you can take if you want at the end of January with UNESCO, and that's the kind of things we are proposing to our community, the Tech for Good enthusiasts. Well, that's all from me. I hope that was clear. If you have any question about what I've said, don't hesitate to yeah, and that's the slide I'm always making nowadays because otherwise I can't help forget about the picture. So if you are in, could you like turn on your camera and to make a photo? It's going to be a screenshot. Those are the new photos of today, and it's going to, yeah. I'm just taking it. Sorry. Everyone's here. Don't hesitate. It helps also like to see real faces when you are talking to everyone. That's really good stuff, you know.
Yeah,
it helps me like to understand. Okay, yeah, they are listening. Oh no, they're not. Those kind of things.
Thank you, cool. Thank you, Yannick. Thank you for your time and the fact you shared with us all your actions. And I think you could maybe put in the Zoom the URL of the web address of the key actions we can take, because this is commonly said that it's harder to start somewhere, but if you have little actions you can start deep dive into this. I think it's a good idea to have a look on this. Yeah, so you took your picture, Yannick, right?
Yes, sorry, I've done it.
Okay. So now, last but not least, great guys from Lausanne, if I'm not saying wrong, Tom. Caulys. So Caulys, they will explain you how they're actually creating a tech for good startup, because their concept is it's not really brand new, but they bring an idea of energy sufficiency with productivity, with self-service. I mean, Tom is the best guy to explain what he's doing, but I'll let you the lead, Tom.
Great, thank you for the introduction. So I'm Tom, I'm the co-founder of Caulys. To give a bit of, oops, slides are not working, yes, great. To give a bit of background on Caulys and why we started it, just starting with an observation that worldwide fresh vegetables we eat every day travel 2,000 kilometers. And of course, when we talk about local food, I mean, it's important because when food travels that much, it has a negative impact on the quality because you have a long time between the harvest and the consumption. Also, use of chemicals, production methods focusing on yields. Regarding the sustainability aspect, which is one of the focus today, it has also an impact when you look at all the transport, the packaging, and even more important, the food waste all along the supply chain. And last but not least, the value for money, because when we have a complex supply chain like this, from the fields to the consumers, we pay a lot of intermediaries, and also it involves a lot of food waste, as I said. So we came up with a vision, a solution to bring agriculture downtown and to enable everybody to grow sustainably high quality food as close as possible to the consumer. And what's important is that we want to do it without any intermediaries. So our farms are meant to be introduced directly where we consume. So in this case, it's at EPFL, so where the project was born. EPFL is Polytechnic School of Lausanne. So these automated farms, they can be installed in restaurants, but also at home. But the point is we want to produce where we consume so that we can get rid of all the intermediaries, we can get rid of the packaging, food waste, and so on. So for example, one of our clients, the chef Frédéric Sutter, just using the farm. So I will just continue with, yes. So in terms of benefits, when I talk about quality at the beginning, of course, when you have the possibility to harvest your fresh greens, aromatics, or fruits and vegetables just in your restaurant or at home, the freshness is unbeatable. It also grows from organic seeds, and because the environment is controlled, there are no parasites, and so we don't need to use pesticides, which is also great. When we look at the local and sustainable aspects, I mentioned already a few points, but I also want to add that we save a lot of water because we use hydroponics methods, which compared to traditional agriculture allows to save up to 95% of water and also up to 70% of fertilizers. No transportation, no packaging, no food waste. And when you add that, as I mentioned at the beginning, and also when you get rid of the intermediaries, that's what allows us to propose a solution that's allowed to produce at a competitive cost. The farms are modular, automated, and connected. So modular because you can choose the size from 1 to 4 gross module. Automated because we control everything in real time to make it easy. So light, irrigation, also a climate control. So the conditions within the gross environment are controlled, humidity, CO2, temperature, to mention a few. And also it's connected. So the idea to have connected farms is that for us, it's a way to control that all the farms that are deployed are working well. So we can remotely control that everything is fine. And also for the user, it's a way to have a connected app and to interact with the farms to facilitate its use. The whole idea is not only to bring farms where we live, but also that these farms need to be easy to use, because if it takes 10 hours per week or even more to grow plants, it won't be possible. So we really wanted to make a solution that for chefs and both for chefs and home users is really simple to use. So basically what you need to do is just to insert seed pods, which contains directly the seeds and the nutrients directly into the system. And then the farm takes care of everything else. You just need to watch your plants grow and then harvest and add water once a week, but that's it. So add water once a week, plant, harvest, and then the farm does the work for you. To grow a large amount of varieties, so I won't mention every species, but you can grow aromatics, fruits and vegetables, even edible flowers, and microgreens. So most people today don't know about microgreens, but they really bring a lot of benefits in terms of vitamins and minerals. So super healthy food. Actually, we call them superfood in English, and also they grow super fast. So it's actually the best candidate to grow in our farms because you can have huge production, and also these species are super expensive. So chefs, for example, are really happy to be able to grow microgreens in their restaurants. Yes, and as I mentioned, you can interact with your farm thanks to a mobile app. So just to give a few examples to let you know when you need to add water, or to give you the information that if you want to have basil ready in this time, you need to plant now, or to let you know when you need to harvest the plant, and so Why specifically us? Sorry, Paul-Henri, you mentioned that a lot of solutions exist already in urban farming, and I think it's great. Urban farming came with the emergence of LEDs. LEDs are lighting sources that are energy efficient, just to be brief. Without LEDs, we could not do urban farming because it would not have been energetically, doable. But a lot of players that exist on the market today, as they focus on industrial or semi-industrial solutions. I put a picture here of IO Farms, which was one of the biggest urban farming companies in the world, as they started in the US. So basically, they take big warehouses close to the city and they start to produce vertically at the industrial scale, which is a good first step to me because they get closer to the city, but still, in this case, you're still far from the consumption because you still need to put this in the packaging, then to transport it to the supermarket. You still have a lot of waste. So still far from the consumption, so far from our vision at Caulys. On the other hand, you also have, let's call them gadgets that allow you to produce really close to the consumption at home, for example, with this kind of tools, prêt-à-pousser, click and grow to mention a few. So you can grow at home in your kitchen, but then you have the limitation of quantity, because as you can see, you can just grow a few bunch of basil or other herbs per month. And so what we do at Caulys is that we want to be, to take the best of both. We want to have a solution that allows to grow close to the consumption sites, so either in restaurants or at home, but at the same time to have a capacity to grow more, to have a real production tool and not just a gadget. So this is what I can call the Caulys Pro that is used by chefs. We will have other chefs and restaurants and even companies that will have that will be delivered in the coming weeks. So that's a big step for us because we go from 2-3 clients to 20 clients, which is an important step for us. And also we are working now to release home version because you can have this one on the top right at home, but it's kind of big. So we try to find a way to compromise also on the price and the size, to make it available also for home. So if you want to have it in your kitchen or your living room, that will also be possible. And yes, just to finish with our vision. So we really believe that hyperlocal food is one key solution to agri-food and agribusiness problems. And so we want to build the largest farm in the world with all our small units that we deploy. So we will have in the coming years a network of connected and automated farms that are deployed in cities and that allow to produce hyperlocal food, in restaurants and homes. And if you have questions, I'm happy to answer in the Q&A.
Yeah, thank you very much, Tom. It's really interesting. As you mentioned, I used to be an early adopter on Prêt-à-Pousser, which is a French startup.
Yes.
And definitely it was quite hard because you need to get the flow between, you need to cut actually the plants in the right time, or your productivity, will be dropping. So it's quite complicating, by the way.
So we want to, so one of the things we want to propose, but I won't say too much because the product is not already on the market, but in the coming months it will be. We want to propose a concept where it will be easier to grow faster. But I don't want to say more today. Once the version will be available, you can contact me.
Sure, with pleasure. So so we are going to now jump on the more discussion part of our webinar. So I would like first maybe to ask the question to Yannick. Maybe you explained that you are connecting corporate students within communities. to bring that tech for good values, I would say, as a summary. But for instance, how do you analyze the impact of existing startups like Caulys and Ecosia? Because my question is simple as that: is to what extent does those tech for good is easy for startups to deploy, I would say, because we check the FCG, for instance, but above that, Ecosia mentions transparency with the finance, the fact they invest a lot. What do you think about this, Yannick? And I will let after Juliette answer that, because I know they have also a new project she could mention.
Well, you have mentioned the SDGs, and that's a great kind of framework, like in order to understand what could be gathered in the tech for good field. So that's one thing which is like the reference in it. And then the question is like to understand what kind of things is going to be social washing, greenwashing, those kind of things, and those could have a real impact. Those are, you can use different metrics. For example, in the environmental kind of impact, you have the CO2 emission, but that's not the only one. You could understand what kind of water consumption you have, what kind of energy consumption, where does your energy comes from, those kind of things. So that there are like, well, that's a complex world. So we have different metrics to measure that, and I won't have one answer, which is that's the perfect metric to solve any problem. Though, if I had this kind of metric, I would share it with you. Though there are different metrics that you can use. So we have those kind of things in the environmental aspect, and for the social aspect, you have other things depending on the way you manage your company. So you have the idea of transparency, which was said by Juliette for Ecosia, and you can also have different metrics, which is a little harder to tackle. Though maybe you can say, I don't know, if I take the example of that we have seen today, it could be the number of family you are helping with your projects, the number of communities, the number of people, the number of trees which have grown, those kind of things. So you have different metrics depending on the impact you want to have, and the all energy you are putting into it is that you choose your metrics and you like go for it and measure that. That's what we have done when I talked about our first impact assessment. We have an impact on the students. The idea is to see if after the program they will continue to engage in the Tech for Good field. And before the program, did they knew Tech for Good? Did they knew the main things about the transition we're in? Those kind of things. So we have like a really complex process to understand and different metrics at the same time. So that's like a small amount of metrics you can use in order to measure your impact. I hope that answers the question.
Thanks.
I don't know if you want to like
maybe
add something, Tom or Juliette.
Yeah, no, I'd say this. I think that, like, for instance, at Ecosia, we have, like, there is the vision first that is truly like want to be doing some good. So like, you know, like as I was mentioning as an introduction, it's like, how can you help reforest the planet globally? So this is like the goal itself. is like, how can you do good for the planet? But then there's like the whole question of how do you make the product align with the values that you have constructed. And this is why like the green leaf, for instance, is important, because then you highlight choices that resonates with the wish of your consumers to make better choices. That's why, you know, I was saying like you have to run on renewable energy, because this is sort of how we offset as well, because we also want to make sure that people don't think that we're using the trees from the researchers to like offset our like uses researches. So that's why, you know, we're covering double. There's all of that, but I guess that what's also important in like a tech for good company is also like the corporate culture that you have. And for instance, like at Ecosia, we have like, for instance, I'm part of the diversity and inclusion groups. We try to have like lots of initiatives. We also strongly support like activism. So like, for instance, if you're at Ecosia, like you work for Ecosia and you want to go for like to a protest one day, like you want to go to like one climate strike, then like it's a day off, like you're paid to go. And if you're having trouble with the police, like if you get arrested, not only Ecosia is going to help you with like lawyer or whatever, like paying your bail, but you will also be paid when you're like your jail time, you know, for instance, like. So there's also that like strong point of view of, you know, like we're saying that we tackle climate change, like, you know, activism for climate is also part of it. And so this is why also like Tech for Good resonates and, you know, like supporting as well your employees in doing good, you know, as they want to. So.
Okay. Yeah, and you, I remember, Juliette, when we prepared this this conference, we talked about also a new project. Could you talk about it a little bit, because I think it could be your new, yeah, Tricard.
Yeah. So Tricard is a new fintech project we have with Ecosia. So it's basically a wooden debit card that every 50 euros of purchase, so like $50 of purchase, you're going to help plant a trees in one of Ecosia's tree planting project. And this is in association with Tricard, the company, which is basically help them launching the company at first. It's still like for now, you can sign up to receive one Tricard. It's going to be released first in the US and then in Europe, like in the coming year in 2021. And the idea with that one was that, so obviously when you're doing your, like Ecosia is like a daily gesture. This is something that, you know, you sort of implement within your life. And so we want to make easy for people to have like that impact on the planet within their daily habits. So that's why like we're like, how can we actually like deploy Ecosia's action through different aspects of our lives, and like Tricard is sort of answering that. But this is also a vision that we're like trying to think like, how can we like through like partnerships with other brands, how can we make Ecosia's action more accessible throughout everything it is that we do in our lives.
Okay, great. So if you are interested in this project, the name is tricard.org, and you can have a look at it. There is also another startup on this field, just to mention, which is Greenly. So yeah. It's a nice topic. Then maybe a question for Tom. So Tom, it has been said that being a tech-forward company leads, in a way, to a competitive advantage. So you mentioned that in your approach, you want to reduce the gap between the production and the consumer, which is in some way a first big step, in my opinion. And also when you link to the idea of reducing the starvation of population in the world, basically, but you can start locally first, of course. So what do you think of that? Because as you said, there are competitors in different markets. So maybe it's more indirect competitor, but as you are launching on the consumer markets in the coming, so what do you think of that competitive advantage?
Yes,
with your approach?
So first, as you said, we want to have later also an impact globally. It's true that the needs in Switzerland or in Africa or India are not the same, but we also want to take advantage of the fact that hydroponics methods can save a lot of water to go in some countries where pure water sources are a bit rich resource, if I can say.
Definitely.
But regarding the competitive advantage, I would say there are two main aspects on which we can insist. The first two I said in my presentation is try to talk about health and to talk about local and sustainability. Restaurants, if you can convince them, I mean, it's not hard to convince them on that, because of course when you have a more local production, you have a better quality, and there is no doubt that regarding the sustainability, it's better to have your own production here than to bring aromatics or greens from even other countries. Now the limit we have, and that's always the case, is that you need to not only be ready to provide value, so gains on the quality of the products and the sustainable aspect, but also to have a solution that is economically viable. Because if, let's say, my solution provided greens that were even more expensive than what you already buy, it would be hard for a restaurant to shift from one to the other. But the good news is, as I explained, that when you get rid of the packaging, get rid of the waste, you get rid of the intermediaries and the transport, I mean, you have a solution that allows you to produce at a lower cost. So it depends also on the plant varieties, because if I want to grow in a restaurant strawberries take a lot of time to grow. So it would not be, I mean, it would be just for the decoration. I cannot provide strawberries for my clients on a daily basis with one farm. But when you look at, I mentioned microgreens or even maybe aromatic herbs, you can have a production which is interesting and even really interesting for microgreens. And in this case, everything is aligned, you know. That's also why one of the main advantages we have compared to one of the big microgreen suppliers in Europe is that microgreens, they are super expensive because they are super hard to conserve. Once you cut a microgreen, you need to eat it right away. And so because you can produce it super locally, I mean, it has the advantage of quality and sustainability, as I mentioned, but also the fact that you don't have this supply chain complexity that allows you to have a really good solution.
Yeah, especially also with safety norms and laws and regulation we could have, maybe we could imagine. Maybe when one day we're gonna imagine that when you go on Ecosia, you are actually setting up new farms. I think it's a good idea, actually.
Otherwise, I had the idea, but in reverse. I mean, we want also to implement later. It's not ready yet, but we want also for each farm we sell to have a direct impact. So I will maybe talk later with Juliette to see how, when we sell a farm, we can contribute with Ecosia planting. Because when we want to do that, we want also to have to be sure that our partner does the good work and plants the trees in the right location. So that's maybe something I can discuss later with Juliette too.
Yeah, definitely. And you said something right, which is you need to choose the right partner, which is also because Yannick mentioned that the environment is you could definitely meet some work washing companies. So this is also the problem with Tech for Good. Where is the limit? Where should I start, or where should I go, and with who? Alex, I think you had a question.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I have a basic question that I've asked myself about Ecosia, because I wondered, you may have said it, so I'm sorry if you did, but I was wondering the monetization principle, because, you know, how does it work? Is it because of the ads that some people are placing, or how does it work?
Yeah, exactly. It's the ads. So like it works basically just like Google. So it's like when you click on a link that is like, yeah, whatever, an ad, it's just like we get money and then we use it just to like finance the tree projects and then our internal spendings.
So I should always privilege an ads than an SEO for natural result.
I actually do it sometimes, like whenever I do
Okay,
it.
that's what I needed to know. I will do it extensively. And also, I found it really quite accurate, I have to say, compared to Google. I found the search results, yeah, I was impressed by the accuracy.
Thank you.
And I was wondering how the algorithm, I don't need any secret, of course, but how does the algorithm work? Is it, have you done a partnership, or is it your own algorithm, or?
No, we have, because like at Ecosia, we're 75 persons working, so we cannot compete with Google on the resources level. So we partnered with Bing. So we actually used Bing's
Engine.
search, yeah. But
Okay.
actually, all other natives search engines uses Bing. DuckDuckGo, Quant, Lilo, we're all on all on Bing.
Okay. But it's quite accurate. I was amazed. Okay. Thank
That's
you.
also why we tried to have like the green leaf and the cool icon, because some people are actually saying that the search results are not as good as Google. So like we're trying to like always improve the product, but knowing that we cannot really influence the results themselves. So we're trying to like enhance the user experience apart from the results.
I also have a question, because of course I'm sensitive to planting. I did also help participate very modest way, but still for another organization. But I've seen in the list Burkina Faso as a primary country where you planted. Why in particular Burkina Faso?
It's because of soil erosion. So like basically they have very they hate in drought and the soil is degrading. So like what we did there, and like the soil couldn't retain the water. So that what we did is we worked to went through in the ground, and we designed like little half moons so that we could capture the water in the soil to regenerate the soil itself, and then to make it possible to plant trees at first, and then to have like some more crops that local people could harvest. But
right, what you said before. Okay.
When you work in different countries, what they do is that it's usually the partners that reached out to us, and then they will present the specific problem that's being faced in the regions, and like what trees do they work with, how we could help them and everything. We have a sort of interview process with the partners.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Right. I didn't see any question in the chat. So, do we have questions from the audience in the attendees? I'm not sure. Thank you for being part of it. I'm not sure. So on my side, I have one last question. Because I'm working with some students on a framework, and I would like to get your feedback on this. I'm going to share it with you. Give me 1 second. Yes. So, excuse me. I have a small issue here. So, yeah, here it is. So, I just wanted to show this diagram for all speakers and, of course, you attendants. I'm actually presenting that diagram when we are working on a framework. I know Alex know I am a fan of it, which is a market opportunity navigator, and which was created by Mark Gruber from the EPFL. Tom, for your info. And I wanted to show that slide because they put in this navigator basically in 20 seconds. It's a framework to help you figure out where you should play, where you should launch a new business. And they wrote a book. The name is Where to Play. and they added few weeks ago a new worksheet to think about your social impact. And I came up with this slide to work with the students. And as the topic is on tech for good, I thought it could be interesting to share that information with you, because generally speaking, when you mention social impact, there is 3 dimensions. You can add another one. And what I love to show in the market opportunity, oops, wow, sorry about that. Up. I think you will see it again. No, it stopped. Sorry. My Logitech mouse is too sensitive. So yeah, so I'm just showing you the specific worksheet, but I think it's a great way to enter the tech for good approach. You could actually use only this worksheet to tackle this problem, because the first part are more on the volume, the market volumes, the consumer needs, the obstacles, which is classical, traditional business questions. But this worksheet 2B, as they call it, is more about the attractiveness, but with the social impact, with the social environment and the social impact. And I think it's a good way to also assess a startup or a corporate with a new project. So basically it's in a 3 approach, which is first the problem severity. So for instance, how your company or your business or your products you are launching is solving a social or environmental concern, like Ecosia is doing actually. And the second one, which is also a good question, but if you don't have the question, you don't know the answer, basically, which is a pertinent solution for the problem you are tackling. So basically, it's also the notion of reach, but also impact with the population or the environment or the area you are targeting. And last but not least, the impact reach, which is basically how you measure your impact. So basically, you know that you will have a climate impact, or you will have a social impact with the population, connecting each other, helping them with real concrete solutions. And the last one, which is something I think Tom will love, it's the possibility to scale the solution. So basically, how your product or your service is easy to deliver directly to the targets. So I'll let you with that. I just wanted to share that because it's really something great. You see the address at the bottom, whereToplay.co. It's free to download, so don't hesitate to download that. And so the book, sorry, I jumped the slide, but the book is also available at payofnac.ch. It's easy to grab, and I definitely recommend the book, as is really easy to read, even if you are not a business strategist. So thank you, Yannick, as well, that you shared some stuff. And basically, I didn't mention that, but the market navigator is also connected with the business model canvas. So if you are aware of the business model canvas, which was created by Strategizer, another Swiss creator, you can definitely jump on both framework. So I don't know if we have extra questions in the audience from the attendees.
Maybe just a quick word about the resources I've shared it, because I think that's really in the same idea about what you're sharing. The main idea is like, if you want to build an innovative project which is going to be useful for society, have a social and environmental positive impact and to make money from it, which is the idea if you want to live from it. You have those three things that you have said, like economic, social, and environmental aspect. And the mission model Canva I've shared is like an adapted business model Canva to take into account those extra financial aspects. And if you want to focus particularly on the social impact you have, the things I've said about like impact in assessment, that's really a complete methodology I've shared. So that's like, I don't know, 20 pages of PDF and those kind of stuff. So that's a really deep dive methodology if you want to measure your impact, if you are like building an innovative project or those kind of stuff. So I think it may be useful to have the broad general point of view you've shared, and also if you want to deep dive into those things, you can like go further with those resources.
Yes, thank you very much. So the second link is in French, but I think we might have some French. We might have some French people, so perfect. Okay, thank you very much, Yannick, for these additional resources.
You're welcome.
It's great to get that. I didn't know about the Rexel Foundation. I knew Rexel, but I didn't know about it. Thank you. Thank you very much. So I think we are going to conclude, but I would like to give Alex the microphone lead for the final words. Alex.
Thank you very much, Paul-Henri. Well, it was great. Thank you for everyone, for you, Yannick, Tom, Juliette. Thank you so much for your time, for sharing your experience. It's all great projects. Also, you know, Tom, about growing initiatives of home growing. We also had an idea from the students. It reminded me in a workshop, one group had this idea.
That's great.
Not this one, but it was specifically, but it was a sort of a yoga with area and have like a veggie wall inside your home. So I think that's was a bit of a different concept.
So we have a few features to add.
Yeah, I think so. And it's always good to see, you know, when I see young students, this was bachelor students, having a similar idea. I think the opportunity is here because, you know, they are creative. So I think it's interesting to know that. Thank you, Paul-Henri. Well, I'm really happy we could almost have open a bottle of champagne because it's the first, only the first of many to come around technology, sustainability, and entrepreneurship. And you three are doing all the three together. So, so that was great. Please stay in touch, stay within the community of EBS, the audience and yourself. And we'll have a lot more to come. We're planning ambitious once per month. We're reviewing to maybe every 2 months. Voilà, we will continue. I hope all of you three will succeed in your projects. It's great to see it also for me. And voilà, thank you a lot for sharing.